a chance to kind of do this. We've actually kind of been doing this throughout the whole thing, which is awesome. But to kind of give you an idea of what this is like. And so, there is in front of me a truncated version of the pilot script, the SilmFilm Project. And there are parts. So I need some volunteers who can read. I don't know. I'm going to count as I'm going. So I need 1, 2. Should I have 1, 2, 3? Yeah, please do. All right. So we come out of the forest and see a small stockaded semi-permanent settlement. Well-made wooden huts with thatched roofs fill the stockade, with a slightly larger structure sitting on a rise at the far end of the village. Near the gate is a small pen with a few cattle. There's activity throughout the village with people going about their daily tasks. Arathorn, the middle-aged chieftain of the Dunedain, taller than most of the others, with a gentle strength about him. He has dark graying hair. He is clad simply. We see him moving quietly among his people. Gilrain, the young wife of Arathorn, is doing household chores outside, working with some other women. A group of toddlers is playing nearby under the watchful eye of a young girl. We see her catch sight of Arathorn, who we see now speaking to one of his rangers who is working on a new bow. The ranger clearly shows deference to him as Arathorn gives him some advice, which we don't hear due to the distance. Arathorn looks up, smiling as he catches Gilrain's gaze, and she smiles in return. Elladan and Elrohir, who are not voiced in this scene, ride into the compound. They are the sons of Elrond, half-elven, elvish warriors of renown. They are armed, armored, and grim-faced as they ride up to meet Arathorn, dismounting as they arrive. Oh boy, there's coconuts, aren't there? Of course there are. Coconuts! What a surprise meeting you at a nerd gathering. Arathorn meets them, greeting them respectfully. After a moment of conversation that we do not hear, the three walk towards the home on the hill, Arathorn sharing the gravity of the elves' expressions. Gilrain, rather concerned, stops working and moves toward the building as well, stooping to lift a male toddler from the group as she goes. One of the women she's working with calls out to her by name from off camera but goes unanswered. So later that night, Arathorn is gearing up for battle with a degree of urgency as Gilrain helps him prepare. I know, I'm sorry, yeah.
Did they say how many of them there are?
She takes up a quiver and moves to a nearby chest. She opens it, withdrawing a handful of arrows, which she places into the quiver before placing it down.
They said they were not sure, Gilrain. Their patrol came across the smoldering ruin of the village on the Mythmoot. They tracked them to a valley not a few hours' ride from here.
He takes an arming sword from where it hangs on the wall near the door.
I do hope you do not plan on getting close enough to use that.
She holds out the blade scabbard to him.
Better to have it and not need it than to want it and not have it.
He takes the scabbard and sheathes the sword before hanging it from his belt. Gilrain takes up the quiver and hands it to her husband.
Should you not go to the other settlements, my lord? They would gladly send additional men to aid you.
Arathorn takes the quiver and ties it to his belt.
Gladly would I seek aid from them, but there is no time. If our rangers do not intercept the orcs tonight, they could find our village by morning.
Will you not at least send out riders? At least then there might be a chance that help will come by morning.
So you would have me lead less men into battle rather than more? You have a strange way of showing your concern, dear wife.
Gilrain gives Arathorn a faint, playful push on his shoulder, her expression feigning shock.
That is not what I meant. There might be more of them than you expect. If you were forced to retreat, will you not wish to re-engage before they come here?
When did you grow so wise, my love? Very well, I shall send out riders, but then I must away.
The two stand still for a few moments, neither willingly betraying the level of concern that they are feeling. Arathorn moves close to his wife, taking her in his arms.
I give hope to men.
I keep none for myself. It is the way of...
You're reading this wrong. I gave it to you wrong.
Oh.
It's my fault.
Okay.
That's where you're That's you.
Okay. Oh.
Pink and red look very similar.
Yes,
so
they do.
That's you.
I'm colorblind.
Yeah.
You wrote it as going.
Oh,
Yeah.
I give hope to
none for myself.
Wait, no, we haven't read the first time.
The first time.
Never mind. Finish reading this, please,
Okay,
before I
reading the
die of
name, not
embarrassment.
I keep none for myself. It is the way of our people to stand as a shield for the folk of the kindly West. Now our rangers must stand as a shield for us. Do not despair, my lady.
The two share a kiss before their 2-year-old awakens, its cry drawing Gilrain away for a moment.
Return home soon, husband. I would our son would grow to be like unto his father, and for that he must needs have him to look upon.
Our phone smiles, kissing the child's forehead, though there is some concern in his eyes. He reluctantly pulls away from them both, moving towards the door, and not turning from them until he reaches it. His smile fades into a quietly determined expression as he steps outside. It's the end of the scene. So what happens, as you can probably tell from where this is going, is that Arathorn is not long for this world at this point. He's sadly going to get shot in the eye. However, Gilrain is going to find shelter at Rivendell, and she's going to live there. There is more in between there. I'm kind of skipping it real quick. All right. She goes to live in Rivendell with Estelle. So the next scene starts taking place 10 years later, which is shown through what's about to happen. So we zoom in on the door of a sunlit cottage in Rivendell. The music is peaceful until Estelle, a young dark-haired boy of about 10 years of age, bursts out through the front door, brandishing a small wooden practice sword, and runs past us. Wow.
Estelle!
Gilrain steps into the doorway, tired and a little flustered, but with a faint smile on her face as she watches Estelle run off. We cut to Estelle dashing through Imladris, to which we are now introduced. We follow the boy as he dashes through the compound, getting reaction shots from Elladan, Elrohir, and another of other unnamed elves, possibly including Glorfindel, but you know. Yeah, that's why he's here. Though Glorfindel would likely not be in full armor, he's still armed. We see him Estelle, not Glorfindel, dash through the library, past the doorway through which we can see Elrond poring over some manuscript. Elrond sighs at the distraction, but he does not look up from his work. Estelle, seeing murals and tapestries on the wall depicting great battles from the history of Middle-earth, begins to reenact said battles, swinging his wooden sword in combat against imaginary enemies. He comes upon the tapestry which depicts the first battle, and after studying it for a few seconds, begins to enact the scene he finds. A winged figure, its face obscured by light, careening through a formation of great beasts. Carelessly, he bumps into a table on which is placed a vase with an image of 2 young men seated with their backs toward each other. The vase falls to the ground, shattering the 2 figures mostly on separate shards. Before Estelle can really process what has happened, Elrond arrives, and the 2 make eye contact as Elrond stands in the doorway. So, later, Gilrain is moving. There is a scene that kind of helps display Gilrain's separation from the elves. I won't go into details, but I will have a copy of this on that back table if I ever go out to the car and get it. So Gilrain is moving through a corridor outside the library, confused as she searches for her son. Yeah, I know. Sorry. Randy.
When the first sun rose in the west, not the east, the eyes of men were opened. The Yatani they were named by the Eldon, second people. But they also called them Hildul, followers, and many other names. Apanonar, the afterborn, Angmar, the sickly.
Gilrain enters the room, looking a bit nonplussed, and clears her throat. Elrond, interrupted, looks up, first with irritation, then curiosity. Estelle seems almost as terrified as he was when he was caught breaking the vase earlier.
Estelle, where have you been? I have been looking for you everywhere. Your dinner is waiting for you.
Writing children is not easy.
Thank you, Master Elrond. I better go?
After a couple more glances back and forth, Estelle slowly removes himself from the room, leaving Gilrain and Elrond behind in silence for a moment. He bolts as soon as he reaches the safety of the hallway. Gilrine waits until she can no longer hear Estelle's fleeing footsteps before locking eyes with the Elf Lord.
Lord Elrond, while I do appreciate your interest in my son's well-being as I do everything you've done for us both, I do not remember discussing any plans for his education with you, nor do I recall wishing to have him learn to describe his people as sickly or as some sort of afterthought.
My lady, it is time for him to begin learning to lead. You cannot simply run around and literature like some wild thing. He may yet be a child.
He is my child, my lord. I will decide when and what he is to learn.
He does not belong to you only, Lady Gilrine, but to all your people.
Of which you are not. You had no right.
You forget yourself, my lady. You speak most vehemently of things of which you have no understanding. Your husband, his father, and his father's father put their trust in me. You would do well to follow their example.
And what good did your counsels do then?
The two of them stand in silence for a moment, Elrond a bit shocked and Gilrine clearly regretting her question. Gilrine exits the scene without allowing Elrond to respond. So later on that evening, Elrond sits alone in his library, lamps burning as night has fallen. In his hands, he holds two shards of the broken vase, each of which depicts a male character sitting in a contemplative pose facing away from the other. Cut to a younger-looking Elrond sitting on a stone overlooking the sea in the same pose as on the pottery shard. It is daylight. He seems concerned and sorrowful. He is soon joined by a similarly aged and apparently related half-elf, Elros. The two look at each other in silence for a moment before Elros sits down beside his brother.
I know you don't approve, brother.
Always the master of the obvious, Elros. Love you to our own people so little?
These men are our people also, and they are good people. You should get to know them better before you make up your mind.
I have already made up my mind. I will not forsake the people amongst whom I was raised. The firstborn of the bearers of wisdom, art, and craft, far beyond the wildest dreams of men.
This is all true, brother, but there is goodness and courage and a willingness to help the others of Middle-earth amongst men that our elvish forebearers sometimes seem to lack.
How can you say this? The Eldar fought against the powers of evil long before the coming of men, without the treachery of the second born.
The Eldar knew treachery long before the coming of men as well.
Yeah, you want to go? You go. Okay, go.
Elrond, I must ask something of you, if your heart lies with the Eldar. In choosing the path of our forefathers, Beren and Tuor, I know that one day I shall share their fate and leave this world, as is the way of the gift to men. I do not fear this, but if you will remain, will you not give them what guidance and counsel you can, for as long as you remain in Middle-earth?
We see Elrond's face for a moment, then fade to the library and show that he's still looking at the broken pottery. Running out of time. Okay. So Gilrine has a dream that night, where she's in the forest. She sees she's wandering through the forest and she sees Aragorn, and they have a moment together. And then she looks up and there's an arrow sticking out of his eye. And she takes off running, and every time she turns around, there he is again. And then she turns another corner and there's Estelle with the same arrow sticking out of his eye. Which he seems particularly... Yeah. I'd be willing to answer questions about that later, but we're running out of time. So, the resolution to at least the conflict between Gilrine and Elrond is important, so we're going to get there. Gilrine is taking laundry off the line outside her cottage when Elrond walks up, waiting for her to notice his presence before speaking.
I should have spoken with you. It was not my place to take that decision from you.
Gilrine does not answer right away, contemplating the half-elf's words before sighing and dropping something into her basket.
You were not entirely at fault, my lord. You mustn't think me a said so himself. It is only,
Only what, my lady?
I would not have him brought up to be some elf princeling. He will grow to be a man of a people who have a hard life in the wilderness. I would that he would not grow to forget who he is.
I see your fear, and I will do my best to educate him with that in mind. My sons will also take up this more practical education, if you will allow them.
That would lift a great burden from my heart, my lord.
Okay. Very little left. So, later on, next day, probably, Elrond is in teaching mode once again, while rather bored Estelle sits. Merry Christmas.
When the first sun arose in the west, not the east, the eyes of men were opened. The Etani they were named by the Eldar, the second people, but they also called them Hildor, the followers.
Elrond notices that Estelle is distracted by an instrumental performance in the courtyard below.
Estelle. Perhaps I had better start from the beginning. There was Eru, the one.
I think I don't have to go through the item. So, real quick, we're kind of out of time. So, does anybody have anything that they would like to feedback of any kind? Yes.
All right, the Mythmoot players are born. We want this continued at the next Mythmoot.
Yeah, we.
So anyone who has any interest in writing any portion of a script,
You get into the humorous part of the Silmarillion call.
Yeah. I think that's the point he's making.
you can write the focus. So we would like to put more scripts together. This is just the pilot episode, but we have.
Which I've been working on for like almost a year. So it takes. It's still not done, is my point.
So we have episodes planned out of scenes that have to happen in them, but they're not written yet.
Yeah.
So we need volunteers to write scenes or episodes from seasons 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And if we have more scripts, then we can do more drama stuff.
I'm sorry if you've already addressed this, but is the idea that you're also going to be producing it? No, you're gonna.
No.
That would be illegal.
This is bordering on illegal right now.
That performance sort of,
Okay, so this is really more of a.
entirely theoretical.
Yes.
Theoretical exercise, okay.
Yes.
It's a purely academic exercise for the purpose of gaining better understanding
Yes.
of the works of Tolkien.
According to my lawyers.
That's our position, and we're sticking to it. It is purpose for critical analysis.
We also do desperately need artists, musicians.
More of that would be great.
Yeah, because we have people who do that. We have Brie Melvin, who is fantastic, Anastasia. Philip Menzies has done a great job on the music that he's done so far. We definitely need more people involved.
And lots of opportunities.
Well, that's why I said musicians specifically, because
So far, the music doesn't have any words to it, it's all instrumental, but as there are elves on screen, you probably should have vocal portions to the music.
yes, Karita.
Yes, there is a table at the back of the room that features three of the artists of the film.
Yes, it does.
Costuming department, music department, and concept art. If you would like to see more of their work, and you'd like to contact them and collaborate, you can go back there, take a flyer. I also interviewed them on YouTube.
Yes.
And Carrie Alexander on YouTube. And I printed out some versions in case some of you are letting don't have computers at home. You can read and learn more about these people and the hard work that they
I do highly recommend checking out the interviews. They are fantastic. Yes.
One little serious question.
Yes.
Are you going to consider copywriting it?
No.
We can't. It's illegal.
I like not being in jail.
Nothing here, effectively, there's a level of copyright, but it's a derivative work and it's critical analysis, and we're born within fair use to some extent, but once you If we're to go outside the thing.
If we were to write a parody, that would be totally legal to film and put on YouTube.
Which that kind of was, so